Okay, welcome to part 4 of the Worship Center ProPresenter training. This one's going to talk about bullet point 5 on our training guide, and this is for Slidewogk. So Slidewogk is stuff that's going to make you more proficient at ProPresenter. It lets you get into a little more of the inner workings of the slides, how to edit them, all of the things like that. I know we've already talked about how to enable or disable slides, but I just want to show you again. So if slides are grayed out like this, that means they're disabled. See how these are full color and dark black and not grayed? That means those are enabled. Disabled slides will skip if you just go to use the arrow key to go to the next slide. Okay. Now, they will display if you click on them. So, don't click on them, otherwise it will display. If you right-click and hit Enable Slide, that will re-enable it, or you can right-click and hit Disable. So basically, it's a soft on-off. All right. Remember, if we have little orange tiles, we want to hit Command S. So those are saved. Go to next timer. These are typically used on announcements. So if you want something to scroll automatically, that's what we have a go to next timer for. So here is an announcement rule. Notice there's a lot of disabled slides. That's because there's some announcements that we use on and off. Like, for example, this equippers. We have equippers almost every Sunday evening in the spring. And sometimes they want that announcement showed, sometimes they don't. And so, it's just kept there so we don't have to reload it every time. All we have to do is right-click and click Enable. So it just makes it easier. But don't worry about these being grayed out. So to start, this slide is on a timer. There's a couple of things that give you that indication. One, there's this big clock here, and then a small 30. It's harder to see on that one because of the background, but see how there's a 30 there? That means that after you click this slide, it's going to take 30 seconds, and then it's going to advance to the next slide. That's called a go to next timer. See how this one has a little loop arrow? That means when this slide is done, after its 30 seconds, it's going to loop back to the first slide. But since this is disabled, it'll go to the next one. That's disabled, it'll go to the next one. So it'll jump back to this one. So it loops back to the first enabled slide in this song. Song with quotey fingers. This isn't a song. This is an announcement playlist. But after 30 seconds, it'll go there. I'm going to go ahead and shorten the go to next timer so that you can see how it works. We'll drop that down to 3 seconds for now. Okay. So after 3 seconds, it'll go to the next slide. There we go. Now, the other indication is that there's this red stop sign here. See how it has a red stop sign with a clock in it? That means it's on a timer. If you want to kill the timer, let's say, they're doing announcements and they bring that up and you see, oh no, it's got a timer on it. Just click the kill button, and that way it'll stay up indefinitely until you click to the next slide. So let's go ahead and add a go to next timer on all of these. So we're going to click, hold down Command, and click the 3 slides we want. They'll be selected in a blue border. We're going to right click, and we'll say go to next timer. And let's say, I don't know, for announcements they should probably be something like 15 or 30 seconds, but just for now, so that they go through a little faster, we're going to do 5. Hit OK or enter. And now this last one, once it's done, after that 5 seconds, you want it to go back up to this first slide, but you need to add a loop to first slide. So this is the loop to the first slide part. Otherwise, it's just going to go to the next slide, which is a black slide, just a blank. So we're going to right click and just say loop to first slide. So now, if you click it, it'll go to the first slide. So this way you can, once you have checked, once you've run through rehearsal, you've checked any video, audio you have, and everybody's kind of on that break while the auditorium is filling up. That's a good time to go to the bathroom, which is important. And so you can just pretty much start this announcement slide, roll going, and then just leave it. And it's going to cycle through. Now, when they make the announcements, it's critical to double check to make sure if it's got a timer on it, when it gets there, click that little red stop sign. Otherwise, they'll be, hey, come join us for Handel's Messiah on March 13th at 6 p.m. here in the Worship Center. And make sure to, oh no, we're already on Men in Prayer. So it looks really bad because it's advancing already. So that's how you loop to the first slide. All right, quick edits. This is for, let's say we're in the middle of a song. Let's throw a song up there. And you see oh, there's a typo in one of the words. Let's say, I don't know if this is the case, I'm just throwing one out there. Let's say there's not supposed to be an apostrophe in front of this C, and we're already here, and you see, oh no, this has got an error. So you're going to right-click on it and do Quick Edit. Don't click on it, otherwise it'll go to that slide. So let's say, they're singing along, hit right-click, Quick Edit. And that brings up this little box right here. Click in it, delete the apostrophe. Don't hit Enter, because that'll just move it to the next line. Hit the X, and that way you've edited right in line. If you catch an error, it's a really quick way to edit the slides. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and change that back. Right-click, Quick Edit, and we'll add the apostrophe back. Okay. Now, let's say there's a lot. You're seeing a lot of grammatical errors or a lot of spelling errors. And I'm not talking about things like, oh, you think these should be hallelujah instead of halle. Like, that's the way the song is written. Don't go ahead and change everything about the song. You really shouldn't have to make any edits. But in case you see a typo, I want to show you how to use this. So what you'll do is you'll click somewhere in that song. Typically, you only do the editor, the full edit during rehearsal. Okay, so we'll click the editor up here on the top on the toolbar. And notice our view has changed. You have a bunch of little, like a mini toolbar here, a whole set of tools over here, and these are all the slides kind of displaying like that. This almost looks like a PowerPoint editor. So what you'll do is you'll click on the slide that has the error, click somewhere in the text and delete it, or change it, or make whatever edit you need to. This just allows you to do several at a time instead of having to right-click and do Quick Edit on all of them. It's just a little quicker. But you shouldn't have to do that, but just in case. There's a couple different ways to get out of this view. You can hit Editor again, or you can hit this little X. So both of those will take you out of editor view. And it's important to notice, you can also do Edit Slide to get into it. Right-click and do Edit Slide. Notice that your view over here is not changing as you click through these. So if you see that your view is different and you're not going through the slides, that means you're probably still in editor mode. So hit the X or hit the editor button again. Okay. Let's learn how to change a background color. This is important, and don't do it unless you either know what you're doing or have this guide up, because it's really easy to mess something up. But I want you to do it in case you really want to change the background hue of a color. Now, don't do it to video backgrounds like this, because if you make that look green, it's just going to look weird. This needs to stay in its natural colors. Let's find a background. Well, let's still kind of... Okay, this one. Let's say, you want to match Loy's light colors. This is used a lot in creative. It's not used a whole lot here in balanced, but I want you to know how to use it. So let's say Loy typically does, I think he's been doing purple lights recently. So let's say we want to make this green background purple. You can actually do that right here in ProPresenter. So what we need to do is open the video image bin, and we're going to search for the title of this background. It's Golgotha Brown something. So we'll do Golgotha. That's awesome. It's not even there. Maybe I spelled it wrong. Of course, I would pick the one that's not there. Let's see. It should be called Bright Spot Green. Okay. Okay. The way that I did that is I right-clicked on it, and if you hover over Remove, it'll show what the actual title of the background is. This slide must have had, for the first background that was placed on it, must have been Golgotha Brown something. So if that doesn't show up, right-click on the background slide and hit, it should show the title here and remove. Don't actually remove it, but, it's just to show you the actual name of the background. And then search that down here. That's what I did. So brightspotgreen.mov, click it. Yeah, that looks about the same thing. Now, what you need to do is I'm going to make, you shouldn't have to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Now, see how we have different bins down here? This bin works as a playlist. So if we have backgrounds here, I don't want you to change the background of the master slide, because this is what's called destructive editing. So if I were to change the color of this slide, it was bright spot something. Yeah, if I were to change the color of this, it changes the color for the whole thing, and we can't go back to this original. I want you to be able to keep the original in case you want to go back to it or use it for a different thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to move it into a special bin where we're going to edit the backgrounds. So the way you do that is you click and drag it into the edited background bin. And now that should show up here in edited backgrounds. So let's right click on that, and we'll do media properties. Now on this second tab over here, I'll move this so you can still see what I'm doing over here. I'm basically following this. I'm just kind of doing it just to show you just naturally. So if you go over here to this third tab with the little, they look like sliders, you can change the blur, color inverts, you can do a whole bunch of stuff, but typically if you just want to change the background, just play with the hue. Let's say that gets us to purple. We can change all kinds of stuff. We don't want a huge contrast. Play with the settings until you get it right. Now, let's say, I really don't like that. I want to start over. Just hit reset all, and you're back to normal. So I'll try to get it kind of back to where it was. Now, that works. Just something like that. Okay? Close that, and now when you play that, it'll show up as purple. So let's go ahead and insert that background. Again, we're going to right-click, copy, right-click, paste. That gives us another background slot. So we're going to throw that onto that. We'll disable this slide. And now, as you go from, the scripture reading, now you have a background that matches. And that's that. So on the next video, we'll talk about how to print Doug's announcement slides, and I'll actually be editing this one as we go. There's a couple of different ways to do this. There's an easier way and a harder way, or a better way. The better way is typically, it's a little harder. So I will see you on the next part of the training. Again, we have unsaved documents down here, so we're going to click in ProPresenter, Command-S. It's a good discipline to develop.